Sup guys, this is USA Smells from Boomfish TCG here with...
Averagenino fan. I took Forestcraft to BCS Toronto and placed 11th with a record of 5-2.
How was preparing for this event?
I spent most of my time preparing by waiting for my cards to show up in the mail. In fact, I played more games in the tournament with Puppet Forest than I did preparing for the tournament. We had 2 locals in town. My cards showed up in time for the second locals on Monday. We drove down to Toronto on Friday.
Okay, so that was pretty last minute of you. I mean, you had the record, you showed it. What a wonderful performance. That must mean a lot.
I've been playing Forest basically since Shadowverse came out in English, and even when it was on the mobile game I was playing Forestcraft. I'm pretty comfortable with most of the combo lines that Forest had, so Puppet didn't really feel too different to me. Man, I don't like this deck.
When it comes to competing, are you familiar with it? Have you gone to many big events?
I've been to several BCSs primarily for Weiss. To play Vanguard as well. I actually played Weiss the day before. Was not feeling very good.
One of the guys in Top Cut mentioned that he bottomed out in Vanguard and this was kind of like his backup game to make him happy. I guess you might have fallen on the same tendencies.
That is exactly how I felt. I was actually there for Weiss. I was playing Nino. At that time was the deck to beat.
Okay, so you went from one crack deck to another. Are you comfortable playing the best deck in the room?
I am.
Flex your leader for the camera. Beautiful. When did you get that?
I got this right after BPO6 came out. I ordered it with the rest of my Lotica stuff.
This was
playing 2 Michelle and 1 of her Evo. Her job is to be made leader. She just fetches whichever top end I didn't open with. I went second most of the tournament by choice. It turns out that the rest of the people who were playing Puppets and better than me clearly wanted to go first. Whenever I went second, I would usually fetch Noah. To try to do a big Noah play on turn 6.
And that's even if you didn't open Anastasia.
I was just gunning for a Noah turn. The good Puppet players took that brain cell from me. Because USA Smells here, top 4, I didn't. Then we got 3 junk. Junk is very much not junk. Turn 1, play junk. Turn 2, guidance, play junk. I now have 4 Puppet tokens ready to go. It also just on play +2, 3 Skunas. I saw someone in the tournament who went second, just on their first turn, Skuna, Evo, swing.
Even myself has fallen to that kind of tendency of wasting a Sakuna when it is so strong. But the big part of this deck and what makes it unfair is when you get to play most of your turnout and most of it's free, and then you hit them with a 5/5 Sakuna or higher.
Then we get to quite possibly the single best card in all of Forestcraft, Nature's Guidance.
And I believe you.
This card basically enables all of Forestcraft's combo plays. You play out a 1-drop, bounce it, play it again. You've now played 3 cards that turn. Puppet Generator, you're bouncing, you're just getting even more value. This card just one of those cards that I kind of describe as the gas you can top deck against 2 cost, because it replaces itself in hand as well, which
is very strong. And for a while I was only running 2 of it, and it seems like you've also decided to run 3.
You accept those fail cases where they come up, and worst case scenario, you play out your 2-drop and then bounce it again. Several of our 2-drops make puppets anyway, so it's not the end of the world bouncing them.
And it's one of the tools that you have to push your damage numbers to ridiculous spots, where Puppet has the issue of filling up their own board, and if their opponent doesn't clear it for them, it's a little bit awkward. This thing clears your own board for the early turns, or when you're having your lethal pushes, which most of the time end up being around 8 damage. Nature's Guidance, if you have that spare mana, gets it to 10. Sometimes it can get even higher if you push a 0-cost token up. It's really flexible.
What the card does for the deck, it just does almost too much for Forestcraft in general. This seems like a somewhat controversial card. Not everyone seems to be playing it. This is kind of my way of getting around the counterplay where people try to board lock puppets. This gives you, on your Anastasia turns, it allows you to play cards without filling up your board. Yeah, and both of these cycling themselves and replacing themselves in hand is incredible for this deck, because unless you're playing Victorias pretty liberally, you're not actually drawing cards. This guy doesn't draw you cards in the early game when you really want to be drawing cards. Him costing 2 means you don't want to be playing him on your Anastasia turns. You don't want to be playing him on your Skuna turns, because that's 2 play points that you could be spending on other more powerful cards. He said put 2 puppets in play.
Okay, that's still good.
I think this deck plays more as an aggro deck than a control deck. Like this deck plays almost no removal out a wide board. So the only way to stop your opponent from going wide is to be the wide deck and force them to crash their stuff into your board. Like be the big gorilla in the room that everybody has to answer. Elf Song is one of those ways you do it, because you hit your combo 3, like you play out 2 0-cost tokens, you play an Elf Song. Yeah, and this card on Anastasia turn, making your Skuna a 7/7. I'm only playing 2 Flower Dolls, mostly because she says make 1 puppet, only playing 1 of her Evo. You want to be pretty judicious with what you salvage with her, because most of the time it's either going to be reusing an Orcus or reusing a Noah that got outed earlier. I actually lost when I was playing because I couldn't reach a lethal number of puppets because I didn't ram my Flower Doll. I had a junk in my bin and I needed 2 puppet tokens. I had 3-drop Ward Guy in hand to make 2 puppet tokens, but like I played the 3-drop from hand and then I looked at my bin after ramming Flower Doll and like, oh. And that just comes from not having practiced with the deck. Like everybody in Ottawa here, the players are all cracked.
Yeah, and it's something that I've come to appreciate, but having 4 people show up with either an X2 or higher and then 2 people in the top cut,
I mean, that just goes to show, like, Ottawa's a force to be reckoned. Shout out to the Ottawa crew. You guys are all amazing. So, quite a few other Forest players aren't playing in Puppet right now, and it's Rhinoceros Roach. Half of this is because I just love Roach, because I played Roach in rotation.
It's such a cool card.
And the fact that his Evo is bimodal, like, means that it gives you extra flexibility in a deck that doesn't have... Like, all of its cards do one thing, except for Orcus. Bimodal cards are, by definition, strictly better than single modal cards, and Roach being able to either Storm Face or ping for his power onto something, this is your one out to things that Victoria can't crash into. Either they've got a ward up, or it's got more than 4 defense. Roach is your answer to it. I mean, if you're playing Forestcraft, he gets big.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Even though I'm only playing 1 Evo, like, he still has Rush, so the second Roach isn't super dead. Like, the second Roach can still 1-for-1 something. So I'm only playing 2 Fina, and this is not a choice. I only own these 2 Finas.
So are you saying if you owned more, you would have played more?
If I owned another Fina, I would have played 3 Fina.
I'm sorry. I should have lent you mine.
So if you had to, like, what would you take out of the deck for that 3rd copy?
That is a choice. It would probably be a 3-drop ward that makes 2 puppets. Yep, that is Fina's #1 job in this deck, is to just get rid of Sukunas.
Or sometimes you're looking for the Sukuna with the other effect, but you know.
She did neither of those.
I didn't draw her.
She did. Nope, I drew them. I drew her. She did not find me a Sukuna, nor did she pop any Sukunas.
Damn.
Notably, I'm not playing Nelcha. I also don't own Nelchas. I didn't feel I was missing Nelcha. In some ways, I feel like Nelcha's kind of like a win more card. On her own, she doesn't really do enough for you. She's one of those cards that you have to have something else with her. Like, they cut Roach for Nelcha, and that also frees up a very valuable spot in the Evo deck. Because at some point, I was considering cutting back on Orcuses, because throughout the whole tournament, I would play 1 Orcus a game. And it's usually backside Orcus, not frontside. 3 main decked Orcuses, 2 face Orcus, 1 backside Orcus. I mean, you say that like you can't just turn them over and flip. Earthrees wise, Victoria. It says draw a card. Puppet, like, outside of Guidance and that one and the 1-drop there, both of those are cards that you kind of want to be pretty selective about when you play them. Like, you'll play Guidance turn 1, and then you probably want to hold on to it for the rest of the game until you're going for like an Anastasia turn, or if you want to have like a big Noah turn and you board and you want to open up a spot to put another token out to swing face again. That's why it says draw a card. I do play the 1 Evo. If you evolve her to make a Victoria, like, not be able to take damage, that's a Victoria that your opponent now has to deal with on their turn, so they have to throw a puppet at it.
And the stat increase on Zwei herself is not a joke.
Like, her being a 4/4 is nothing to scoff at. Like, that trades with like most big followers. It takes out a Lloyd.
And this also plays into your idea of you wanted to go second. So it seems like you built for it, because Zwei on turn 4 is very strong.
Being able to take out a Lloyd so that you can then swing the Victoria at something more valuable, like, is pretty big. And people don't fire removal at a Zwei that's just sitting there on your board. Player at 3. This card is the ideal turn 3 play, I think. It feels a lot like you're taking a turn off.
And it technically a tempo loss.
And like this is the whole reason why you can play Anastasia, because this creates 2 of your 0-cost tokens in the back row. Like you need to see a 1 or 2 drop card that makes 2 tokens on turn 1 or turn 2, so that you have at least 2 puppets in your back row turn 3 when you play this. You're a deck that wants to get your opponent on the back foot like right from the beginning of the game.
It's very important to have setup.
The number of times you just jam a Skuna and see what happens is insane. Like the only way to deal with that is Fina.
Yep.
This guy I want to cut. There was a turn where in the game where he did actually save me by being a second ward alongside a Lloyd, and my opponent had outs for 1 ward to swing for lethal, but not 2 to swing for lethal. He doesn't do enough for his cost. Like, he comes down, I make the 2 puppets, I leave him standing, and then I dome my opponent for 3 on the following turn. It's really low impact compared to what the other 3 drops. If you're going second, and I seem to have incorrectly preferred going second, in Orcus, create your 2 puppets, poke something, get a Lloyd, and now have a ward, or you can have this guy and 2 puppets. I think I was just incorrect with this. I was heavily undervaluing Anastasia, and Noah says I push for lethal. Like, I wasn't thinking about what if Anastasia just sticks around. Like, what if your opponent passes turn without clearing her?
What if you put down another one?
What if you put down both? Notably out of range for Victoria. Like,
even after the first stat boost, it's not easy for a lot of decks to get rid of Anastasia, and if they do, they spent like most of their turn doing it, and the rest of your board is left as is.
I played against 1 2-cost player. He had to do back-to-back Arbiter turns just to try to like keep my board down. Because like my turn 5 board, I didn't have an Anastasia board. I don't remember what it was, but it was a pretty wide board. I had like 3 or 4 followers. He had to drop an Arbiter. Anastasia turn, wide board. He had to drop the second Arbiter, but the second Arbiter milled 4.
And that's crazy, right? They missed 1 damage on the Anastasia, and it's basically game over.
Yeah, because 4 is not 5, and that leaves the Anastasia. Yeah, they had the removal for everything else on my board, but could just go wild.
It's been a while since the tournament, of course, but do you remember your matchups?
Top cuts, so round 7, I remember it was a puppet mirror match. The guy was an incredible player. Shout out to him. He board locked me and managed to slowly build up my board so that when I was looking for a lethal line, I found a line for 17 damage to his 18 life.
That's tough.
And he had a Noah and an Anastasia out. I had no way of breaking his board and no way of reducing his life total. Shout out to him. He was absolutely incredible. Was it round 3 or round 4? I played against one of our locals. He was playing Amulet Haven. Shout out to him. After I played him and won, he kept going through the whole tournament and went undefeated after that. He was X2 at that time.
And a really good mental to have that happen to you and just keep going.
Absolute great guy, absolute great player. He had a very unfortunate game against me. Like, Amulet Haven kind of struggles a little bit against Puppet to begin with because it's really good at removing valuable single targets, but Puppets just goes wide. They leave nothing for me to whack with Orcus turns. If you go for a Noah turn instead, like use Orcus for value and then use Noah and just go face. And the other game I remember very clearly was a game I lost. I had the Flower Doll. I needed 2 more puppet tokens. This guy in hand. He gave me my 2 puppet tokens, but he costed 3 play points. I didn't notice until it was too late, or didn't think to look in my bin to check for a junk. I evoed this Flower Doll on a previous turn. If I traded this in, I would have been able to salvage the junk, play the junk, get 2 more puppet tokens to be able to count to 5 for Anastasia, and actually would have closed out the game that turn. I was just unfamiliar with some of the more, I guess, complex lines of the deck. Simply because by that time I'd played maybe 5 games with the deck, and I was in my 5th game with the deck possibly at that time. Now I feel more comfortable. If I saw that line, I probably would take it now. But overall, I feel like I managed to share the same brain cell as the rest of the puppet players in the room. It was overall, the Shadowverse half of the tournament was extremely well run, very orderly. The judges were great. Also, shout out to Perfect Sphere for being the store that hooked me up with all my puppet stuff. I couldn't find anything locally, could not get it in time, so Perfect Sphere, thank you for getting me set up with this deck. I would have liked to have more time to practice with it,
Are there any shout-outs that you like to put out there?
Shoutouts to USA Smells for being a much better puppet player than I am. Ramadi as well for help a couple games. And also just in general, the Ottawa community. I said this once before, but Ottawa community, all of you are absolute legends. Like, I would not have gone 5-2, and I would not be as confident with this deck as I would be if I didn't have you guys.
We appreciate that, honestly. It's beautiful that we have this community. I thank you for the shout out myself. It really is special to see what we are able to do as a community.
For what's supposed to be such a casual format like locals, the fact that we all play casually but unbelievably sweaty. Our locals it's small. Like, you may have at most 10 to 12 people, but these are 10 to 12 seasoned veterans, like, who all would have equal chance at topping a regional.
And we come from a lot of different lines, you know, like you said yourself, Weiss. Myself, I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player. We have a bunch of different versions of that, but we take our experience and it seems to pay off.
I also come from a Magic background. Magic's the game I've played the longest. Shadow versus Resource system feels very familiar to me by being like a mana point based system. Yeah, I would have liked to use this mat in Toronto, but
Thank you very much for the deck profile and hope to see you top sometime soon.